What's up, boys? Dana White absolutely cooked yesterday, announcing UFC 311 main event and co-main event, and added a whole bunch of bangers on the card. So that's what I want to come on here and talk about today. We have Islam Makhachev versus Tsarukyan 2, the rematch. Merab Dvaslishvili versus Umar for the belt. That's super exciting. Kevin Holland versus Rainer de Ritter. Peyton Talbott, Howney Barcelos. Bogdan Guskov versus Johnny Walker. A whole bunch of matchups announced, and I want to come on here and give my reaction and prediction for all these fights. Starting off with, obviously, that main event, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan. We all knew this was the fight to make. Not sure why it took so long to get this announced. They said that Islam had come out and said recently that he never got the contract. Either way, that's settled now, and we finally get the rematch. These guys actually faced off for the first time in 2017, I believe. It might have been further back. 2017, though, I believe they first faced off when Arman was just 22 years old and made his UFC debut against Makhachev. And honestly, he looked really good. Tsarukyan looked good in that fight, despite dropping a decision to Makhachev. He did get out-grappled and outworked, but he was able to, one of the only guys to be able to take Makhachev down himself and have some success in the grappling against Makhachev, which, to me, at 22 years old, was really impressive. Now, he's coming into his prime. Arman's, I think, 27. He's 28 now. Makhachev's 33. They're both in their absolute prime. And yeah, man, we're looking at two completely different fighters here. I don't think the first fight's going to tell us much on what's going to happen in the second fight. However, I do think that Islam Makhachev is going to beat Arman Tsaryukan. If you look at their recent fights, right? Arman's coming off a really close fight with Charles, and before that, he knocked out Dariush. Islam coming off a war with Dustin Poirier where he got a submission in the fifth, and then he had the two fights against Volkanovski. However, Islam seems to be consistently finishing opponents outside of Volkanovski, and Arman tends to fight to decision a lot. Outside that Beneil Dariush fight, that was his first finish since like the Joel Alvarez fight. So Arman Tsaryukan is a decision fighter for the most part, and I just don't see a world where Arman Tsaryukan finishes Makhachev. I don't see that happening. I don't see him submitting Makhachev. I don't see him knocking out Makhachev, and I definitely don't see him winning by points. Makhachev's just too good all around. And yeah, man, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Arman Tsaryukan's not a decision fighter just because he knocked out Beneil Dariush. No offense, but Beneil Dariush has been chinned like 4 times now by Alexander Hernandez, by Alexander Hernandez, by Edson Barboza, by Arman Tsaryukan, by Charles Oliveira. Like his chin has been cracked a bunch of times. So Arman knocking him out doesn't really tell me that Arman has one-punch KO power. It more so tells me that Beneil Dariush's chin is kind of shot. I'm not saying Arman has no power. He just doesn't have like one-shot knockout power to threaten Makhachev like anytime on the feet with the knockout punch. I think we're going to see a striking match, not too much grappling in this fight because the grappling is going to make each other a stalemate. And when you look at the striking, I think Islam Makhachev clears in the striking. I think he has better striking, better boxing, better kickboxing, just all around a better striker. And I think he has the better jiu-jitsu. Arman Tsaryukan is a great pure wrestler, but in terms of like jiu-jitsu, he's not great. He's not really a guy that chases or goes for any submissions. He kind of just uses the ground game as positional control to keep you where he wants you. Islam will attack submissions, but he typically is a position versus submission guy himself. But I do see this fight playing out on the feet. And I think Islam's just going to outpoint and outstrike Arman over 5 rounds and win a 49-46 decision. I think Islam's going to win 4 rounds to 1. Arman will sneak around in somewhere. But overall, I do think Makhachev will get it done. And if he wins, man, we're looking at Makhachev going up to welterweight possibly. I don't know if he would, considering Bilal's the champ. And being that they train together, I don't think they would fight. But listen, if Shavkat goes out there and beats Ian Garrett this weekend, which I think he will, and then he beats Bilal for the belt, we could see the end of 2025, Makhachev versus Shavkat Rakhmonov for the welterweight title, and that would be an absolute banger. So, yeah, this main event, we knew it was going to happen. Finally announced. So hyped for this fight, guys. Cannot wait for UFC 311. Let's go to that co-main event. We all kind of figured this was going to be next. We all know Merab was ducking and dodging Umar, saying he wants to fight anybody but Umar, calling out Figgy, calling out Petr Yan for a rematch, calling out Sean O'Malley for a rematch. Would want to fight anybody but Umar. But listen, respect to Merab. He proved the ducking allegations were nonsense. He said, you know what? Give me Umar next. I want to prove that I can beat this guy. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Umar deserves the title shot. He has one win in the top 15 against Corey Sandhagen. He really doesn't deserve a title shot, but with the current landscape of the bantamweight division, it does make the most sense to give it to him. Petr Yan's just got dominated a year ago by Merab, 50-45. He just beat Sean O'Malley. So, like, who is there? Who else is there? Corey Sandhagen, who's coming off a loss? It's like, no, it's Umar. It makes sense right now. If Figgy would have won, it definitely would have made more sense for him to get it. But it's Umar versus Merab. And stylistically, this is such an intriguing matchup. You have the Georgian Goblin, who literally spams takedowns and has unlimited cardio, versus another Nurmagomedov. This Umar actually has really slick striking, and he has good grappling. So he's extremely well-rounded. He's really fast, Umar. That's what a lot of people underestimate about Umar. His speed cannot be underestimated. And I think he's going to be the way faster fighter in there. Merab's almost 34 years old, and people are not talking about his age. Whenever you're at bantamweight, man, and you're coming up on 34, eventually that cardio and that speed you have is going to become something less, you know? And I really think that Umar is going to be able to win this fight just by not letting Merab get takedowns like everybody else. Merab spams takedowns on other fighters because they don't have great takedown defense, right? Jose Aldo, he couldn't take him down. I'm sorry, but if he couldn't take Jose Aldo down, I know Jose Aldo is one of the greatest anti-wrestlers, but he's not taking Umar down. Yeah, he took O'Malley down, fair enough. He took Henry Cejudo down, an older Henry Cejudo. Like, he's taken most opponents down, but Merab really doesn't do anything great. He kind of just spams his cardio. Merab has the best cardio in the UFC. It's no secret. By far, really. There's nobody that comes even close. I mean, this guy shot 49 takedowns against Petr Yan. Shooting 49 takedowns in one fight is absolutely insane, and I think he only landed 11 of them. And I'm sorry, man, but I just think that Umar is going to be too good for Merab to take down. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a striking masterclass by Umar. He's going to keep Merab on the outside and just piece him up in the striking. And Merab's going to look kind of silly on the feet because for once we're going to see a guy that Merab can't just take down. Umar, I think the biggest factor in this fight for Umar to win is his speed. He's going to see the takedowns coming from a mile away because Merab shoots him very sloppy. And listen, Umar's not like these other guys like Sandhagen and like O'Malley and Cejudo are just going to take the takedowns and just let him take him down. Umar's going to threaten submissions, or he's just going to move out of the way or sprawl, and Merab's not going to be able to take him down. So am I saying that Merab can't get a takedown? No, I'm not saying that. He might get a takedown, but I think Umar is just going to get right back up, and he's going to be able to just piece Merab up on the feet. I don't think he'll get a finish. This will probably be like a 49-46 decision for Umar. Maybe a 48-47, but I do think Umar comfortably beats Merab and becomes a new bantamweight champion. Even if he doesn't deserve the title shot, I do think he is the better fighter between the two. Listen, respect to Merab, but you guys saw my hot take the other day. I do not think Merab really excels at anything. His wrestling's sloppy. His striking's sloppy. This guy's literally got the most insane cardio in UFC history, and he weaponizes that. And he's been able to literally make a career and become the champion just to the simple fact that he has insane cardio. Am I saying Merab has no wrestling skill? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he has wrestling skill. He's just very sloppy in his fights, and he doesn't really have great striking. The reason he's able to make his striking work in fights is because his pressure style is so heavy on his opponents that they're always waiting for a takedown, so they always have to be like worried that they're going to have to sprawl or like prepare for a takedown, so his striking's able to work. But Umar literally has nothing to worry about. Merab has 11 fights in the UFC, 10 decisions, so Umar is free in this fight. He has 25 minutes to either outpoint and beat up Merab or knock him out. There's literally next to no threat of getting finished. So I will take Umar in this fight. As I said, 49-46 decision I think is most likely. Let's get on to the next fight. That was announced. We got Jamahal Hill versus Jiri Prochazka. Now, as we know, Jamahal Hill's been yapping a lot on Twitter. This guy's been coping up and down ever since his Alex Pereira loss. There's actually a clip today that came out of him having a confrontation with Pereira in the gym. This guy is the saltiest and biggest sore loser we've ever seen in UFC history. It's funny because he copes about the Pereira loss, talking about how the ref, right, got in the way and that Pereira declined stopping the action and okayed the fight to go, and Herb Dean allowed that to happen. But dude, Jamahal Hill threw the first punch after the fight was reset, and he's still coping about how if it wasn't for that mishap by the ref, that would have never happened. I disagree. Pereira would have KO'd him either way. But listen, man, despite all the coping that Jamahal Hill is doing, I still think he's going to beat Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka, we already know, This guy's been chinned twice in a row by Pereira. Well, he did have the Rakic fight in between, but he took a lot of damage in that Rakic fight, man. I know he beat Rakic, but man, in that first round, Rakic was beating the piss out of freaking Jiri Prochazka. And then he got KO'd twice by Pereira. And he low-key got knocked out by Dominic Reyes. A lot of people don't talk about that. Jiri went out for a second against Dominic Reyes and then came back and then won that fight eventually by spinning elbow. But listen, man, I think Jamahal Hill is going to put a beating on Jiri Prochazka. Do I think he's going to get him out of there? Maybe. It might go to decision, but I think Jamahal Hill is just going to be too good on the feet, too accurate. And Jiri, man, he just fights with his hands down. He has no defense. And against a dangerous striker like Jamahal Hill, who can put you out with one shot, it's dangerous for Jiri. And I'm worried for him. So going into this fight, I definitely favor Jamahal Hill just because he has cleaner striking and he's more defensively sound on the feet, whereas Jiri tends to keep his hands down, chin straight up in the air, and kind of just try to like be Mr. Samurai in the octagon. And that worked for a while, but eventually it was going to catch up to him. And of course, a guy like Alex Pereira was going to be able to expose the defense of Jiri Prochazka and sleep him, And that knockout loss against Pereira, that was brutal. He got knocked out 2 times in one fight. The end of the first round in the second fight, and he got head kick KO'd. So that's a lot of damage to take if you're Jiri. And I really hope Jiri brought in some new coaches to be able to, keep his hands up more, just be able to be more defensively sound. Because I want to see this guy use fundamentals. He could be a really great fighter if he stuck to the fundamentals and stopped trying to be Mr. Goofy Autism in the cage. Either way, this is an exciting fight. And I'm not going to lie, it would be pretty funny to see Jiri beat Jamahal Hill because I want to see how he would cope about that. Can you imagine if Jiri beat Jamahal Hill, right, and the ref stopped the fight early? Dude, Jamahal Hill would be coping on Twitter for the next 10 years about it. Either way, this is an exciting matchup. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the build-up. Jamahal Hill is going to be overlooking Jiri and talking about Alex Pereira the whole build-up, and that could be a mistake for him. We will see. Maybe being salty is the best base for MMA. I don't know. We haven't seen Jamahal Hill in the cage since UFC 300. He'll have been out for 9 months by the time this fight goes down, which I guess is good to give his chin some rest. But this fight goes down. I do have Hill winning probably by a second round TKO. Let's move on to the next fight that got announced. Renato Moicano. Moicano needs money versus Benny Dariush. Now, listen, if we know these guys' careers right now, Benny Dariush is coming off of 2 brutal KO losses to Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsaryukan, whereas Renato Moicano is on a 3-fight win streak, most recently beating Benoit Saint Denis and Jalen Turner, which he looked good in the last fight, man. Renato Moicano looked amazing against Benoit Saint Denis. Amazing. He absolutely destroyed him in every round of the fight. He brutalized him on the ground, right? Destroyed him in the grappling. It wasn't even close, dude. Moicano seems to be hitting a second prime at 35 years old. Motivated Moicano, money Moicano, cannot afford to lose. And listen, in all seriousness, I think Benil Dariush is washed. I think his chin's shot, and I think he's going to be slower than ever. 35 years old, been knocked out 4 times in the UFC brutally, so it's tough for Benil Dariush, man. His grappling skills are legit, but so are Moicano's. So I think it might be a stalemate in the grappling. We will see. I actually would like to see some grappling exchanges from these guys, but on the feet, you could argue that Benil is the better striker, and he probably has more power than Moicano. But man, recently with how Benil Dariush has looked and being chinned twice in a row at 35 years old, when he already doesn't have the best chin, I cannot pick him. I got to go with money Moicano. Probably winning this fight by like a 29-28 decision. Maybe Benil can hang in there and not get chinned because Moicano is not really like a one-shot knockout kind of guy. He's kind of like a TKO kind of guy. Take you down and beat you up on the ground or beat you up on the feet. But yeah, man, let's see. This is an intriguing matchup. They're both grapplers, but they both can strike decently on the feet. I will pick Moicano to win by a 29-28 decision. I'm pumped for this fight, and I can't wait for the post-fight interview where Moicano is going to probably call out somebody like Dan Hooker. But let's see. Let's move on to the next fight that got announced for UFC 311. We got Reindeer versus Holland. Rainer de Ritter versus Kevin Holland. Now, I'm not going to lie. Rainer de Ritter might have the goofiest style in the UFC. We need to see Rainer de Ritter versus Dricus du Plessis immediately. That would be pound for pound the most Looney Tunes fight we've ever seen. But listen, man, Kevin Holland might be the most consistent fighter and inconsistent fighter in UFC history. This guy drops the ball. Every time you turn around, he's either purposely losing the fight by not taking Wonderboy to the ground. He's getting a rib injury. He's getting headbutted by Cal Dawkins, and the fight's a no contest. You know, he's getting submitted by Chimaev. It's like Kevin Holland has glimpses of greatness, and then it's like he's the biggest waste of talent in his next fight. So it's like, what Kevin Holland shows up? You know, is it 2020 Kevin Holland? Is it quitter Kevin Holland? Is it, you know, like this guy, he was in my video of most frustrating fighters to watch because he really is. He's one of the biggest waste of talent. He has so much potential, but it's like he's so worried about like coping about his losses that he almost wants to take the path of most resistance so he can say, oh, I only lost because I fought this guy where he was good. It's weird with Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is the 20 times better a striker than Reinier de Ridder. Reinier de Ridder is so goofy and clumsy on the feet. He has decent power. He did drop GM3, but in the grappling, Reinier de Ridder is obviously going to be better than Kevin Holland. That's where he's going to excel. Can he get Kevin Holland to the ground, or can he outstrike Kevin Holland on the feet? That's the question. Listen, although I do think that technically and skill for skill, Holland's a better fighter, I cannot pick Kevin Holland anymore. He's way too inconsistent. And betting on this man is just a nightmare because you never know what Kevin Holland's going to show up. So I will be going with Reindeer, my boy Reindeer, or Reinier de Ridder, whatever you want to call him. I think he's going to Looney Tunes his way to either a decision win or he's going to get Kevin Holland down and out-grapple him and potentially submit Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland has been submitted before. So give me Reindeer de Ridder by probably like a 29-28 decision, but I could see him getting a submission over Kevin Holland. Yes, I know Kevin Holland has underrated grappling, but he was submitted by Chimaev. I know Chimaev is good on the ground, but my boy Reindeer de Ridder ain't no joke on the ground either. So, yeah, give me Reindeer de Ridder by a decision. And the last fight, this one's actually sad because we already know who's going to win. Raoni Barcelos versus Peyton Talbott. This is obviously a tailor-made matchup for Peyton Talbott to just showcase how good he is. And I think he's going to go out there and absolutely brutalize Raoni Barcelos. Raoni Barcelos, 1-2 in his last 3. And yeah, man, he's 37 years old. I think Peyton Talbott's going to absolutely cook Raoni Barcelos. I think it's going to be on the feet, and I think Peyton Talbott gets him out of there in like 2 minutes or under. And yeah, Peyton Talbott, I want to see him fight better competition. I know Raoni Barcelos is close to the rankings, but this guy's way better than these bottom feeders. They need to, I don't know about fast track, but they need to give him a little bit better matchups. Give him somebody in the top 15 if he wins this fight. Yeah, man, I think Peyton Talbott's championship material. This guy is so good. Like, he finished his last fight in 18 seconds. And what pisses me off about Peyton Talbott is that, bro, your last fight was 18 seconds, 22 seconds, whatever it was, and why are you out for 6 months? I want to see these younger guys fight more often, man. They're always complaining about not having money, right? Dude, you fight once a year. Of course you don't have no damn money. I don't know what Peyton Talbott is doing. Maybe he's being zesty on the sidelines, playing with some Dragon Ball Z cards or something, but he's fighting Raoni Barcelos, who, honestly, if you look at this picture, is absolutely shredded. But it doesn't matter. Peyton Talbott's going to come and hit him with a Kamehameha in the middle of the octagon and absolutely put a spirit bomb on Raoni Barcelos' head, finishing him in the first 2 minutes, in my opinion. This is just a matchup for Peyton Talbott to showcase once again how amazing his striking is and his knockout power. But that's the matchups for UFC 311, guys. I'm so hyped for this fight. Whenever this was announced yesterday while I was streaming, dude, I was so hyped. I got on the stream. Everybody was hyped. 2025 is going to start off with an absolute banger, and I know you guys all can't wait, as myself. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions in the comments. Let me know what you think of these fights. Who else is going to be added to UFC 311? I'm curious to see. So far, it's shaping up to be definitely going to be one of the best cards of 2025 with the co-main and main event just alone. And adding these other bangers of fights just makes it even more exciting. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, leave a fat, juicy, creamy like on the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, man, that's it for me. Thank you all the subscribers, comments, likes, shares, and I'm out, guys. Peace.